Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand TV. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal brand and business development company. I want to take you on a journey through another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal stories, business conversations, and tips to improve your brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand TV series, you will differentiate yourself from the competition and build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build confidence, and reflect who you are. Building your 5-star personal brand is a great way to improve your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh@5starbdm.com. Now, let's begin with our next episode on the Follow the Brand TV.
Grant McGaugh. Grant, among other things, is the key producer for Follow the Brand. And I know you have some other accolades in there. Grant, how are you today?
I am doing just wonderful. I'm so glad to be here, to be on your platform, interacting with everyone out here in the look at this, the optical metaverse. I can't believe we're here right now. This is awesome.
Thank you so much. And shout out to Christopher Lafayette from the Gatherverse for putting such a great community together. A lot of the people that you'll meet today, Alita, Lindell, Antoine, Philippe, we're all from different sectors of the world in technology, but we were brought together through an amazing human being, Christopher Lafayette, who formed the Gatherverse. So Grant and I are kind of fellow alum in a way, right, Grant?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It seems like it was years and years ago, but it really wasn't. Talk about maybe 15 months ago, but he had a vision, which was Gatherverse, and to bring together all these different, whether you're a technologist, you're in this field of like, hey, humanity first, because we are on the precipice of an enormous technological leap. And I've been in healthcare for the last 6, 7 years. I've been in technology the last 20, 25 years. I'm seeing this all coming together onto a whole new platform and a launching pad into a whole new experience for human endeavor.
So this is a little bit of a more interactive session. Grant has spoken all over the world on this subject, and this is a very unique opportunity for you to get your questions answered. So if you're interested in asking a question, you can just drop it in the feed, or you can raise your hand if you want to come on stage and interact with us. Grant, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then I'll jump into some questions that I've prepared to kind of get things rolling.
Absolutely. So I got my start in the communication space about 1999 or so. This is when, before voice over IP, which we are doing now, telecommunications was really done in what they call a PBX, or just a more of a hardware type centric delivery. And it started to morph and it started to change. This was 1999. So by 2001, 2002, people started using voice over IP. What does that mean? That means you can do voice over the internet. You did not have to use regular public telephone lines, right? Just like now, we're going through a similar change where you're using, cable TV. I'm used to using cable TV. This is what I do to watch television. Yet you have streaming services just like the one we're on now. And guess what? The same fidelity, the same kind of quality, everything that you used to on the cable platform now is available on streaming service. And voila, you're not constrained by only a few stations. Now you've got a few thousand stations, where it would cost us a lot of money for me and Charlene to be on our own television station right now. But guess what? We can do this virtually free over internet services. So I'm coming to you from an aspect that I have seen major shifts and changes over time, and how technology can change culture and can change it very rapidly. And we've seen that now with Chat GPT. That's just a AI engine. Understanding what I just said, I come from a communications tech background. That means I remember when voicemail was just getting started. Well, guess what? Voicemail is an AI platform. That's when you get the, hey, dial 1, dial 2, dial 3 to get to so-and-so, or put in, 4 digits to get their last name. That's all AI driven. But because of the internet and because of cloud computing, you have a large, very large, colossal database of information that was never accessible before. But now we've made it to where it's ease of use for just myself or Charlene to access, and you can get immediate information in a fraction of time. What does that mean for us? You're about to see what it's going to do for all these platforms, including healthcare.
And when we talk about transforming healthcare, we understand that this has happened a lot over the last, thank you, honey, over the last, 20, 30 years since digital transformation began. Healthcare providers, they weren't looking at these tools from a marketing standpoint, definitely not initially. But as you became, more and more morphed into this new society, you needed to use these tools, and you needed to be mindful of things like security and privacy. And up until right before COVID, telemedicine wasn't even widely accepted in medical communities, but they were forced during the pandemic to just lift the veil, and people could Zoom and see their doctor. And we learned that wasn't secure. And now there's like this weird still kind of, can we do that type of mentality? Grant, talk about that transformation and how that's really shaped the patient provider experience.
Well, first, you need to understand the healthcare industry as a whole. The healthcare industry as a whole is what we call a laggard. What I mean by laggard, meaning they don't adopt new technology very quickly. It takes a lot of time for the health industry to actually start adopting new things. To give you, for instance, when they do any kind of clinical trials, any kind of new device, medical device that comes online, it takes almost about 17 years before that device is certified and that it's adopted and is widely accepted by the clinical community. 17 years. So they're very, very meticulous about what they introduce because it can affect lives. It can affect lives. So you don't want to get, sued or anything of that nature because it malfunctioned. Because of that mentality, when it even comes to things that are non-clinical, different applications, they're not very accepting of newer tech. Telemedicine has been around for 20 plus odd years because it's video conferencing, right? But video conferencing, when it came out 20 years ago, was very expensive to do because of the carrier network, your AT&T, Verizon, that type of thing. It cost a lot of money to be able to maintain that kind of infrastructure. Well, that has gone down significantly over time. So we had telemedicine available. They were dabbling with it. But here's the key. Because of how the healthcare system is set up from a reimbursement model, we're talking about how money flows through a healthcare system, meaning a doctor will get paid more with an in-person visit than opposed to a virtual visit. And until Congress passed a law during COVID, that was the case. So there was no incentive for a doctor to then say, hey, I can do this virtually as opposed to in person. So they weren't really big on it. You've got to follow the incentives around how technology is adopted in the healthcare industry. And that's a big determinant of how things will go forward as we go over time. Now, what we're finding out now, because telemedicine was such a hit, you've got a lot of remote people in remote areas that couldn't get, to drive to a doctor's appointment sometimes could take hours. For some people, it takes, a couple hours, but to take that out of your day, it's a lot. And it depends on what it is that you're doing. If it's just a routine type of engagement, why not do that over a virtual platform? You're not actually administering healthcare at that time. You're doing anything from triage, you're just getting information. Why couldn't that be done over a virtual platform? Or you've already seen the doctor, now you're getting your results. Well, encryption, as you said before, cybersecurity is a big factor in that. How can we, lessen that capability as far as someone trying to hack and get access to your records? So this is all morphing and changing as we speak. But as the consumerization of health, what does that mean? That means me and you, people. As people get used to getting their health care in a faster, more efficient manner, then the industry will have to shift and they will have to change because that is going to be the going forward delivery model, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And, I think education is in that same bucket of things take so long that by the time they get to market, they're irrelevant, right? And here's my question to you, because I know you're on the front lines of this and you work with hospitals, and I'd love for you to talk about some of the, experiences that you've had speaking with leaders in healthcare, not just, providers, but leaders in healthcare who really get the pressure of the impact because they're responsible. Like, a doctor is responsible for their office. And this isn't just, this isn't just optometrists, just to be clear, when you talk about healthcare being laggards, this is all medical verticals, not just the eye care vertical. So True. I think a lot of optometrists are like, okay, good. It's not only us. No, according to Grant, it's every medical provider. But what you're saying is it's not really the fault of the provider. It's just the way the industry is operated because they want to really flush things out before they adopt them, to make sure that when they start implementing this into their practice, it's safe and like acceptable for that patient care. And I never really thought about it from that perspective before, but it totally makes sense. But how on earth are they going to keep up when everything's moving so fast?
Well, here's the deal. Understanding again, as I said, the economic model. Right now, the economic model of healthcare is what they call fee for service. What does that mean? The healthcare system gets paid when they provide a service. So as you are sick or you're in need of healthcare, you go see a doctor, and then they're able to bill. They're able to bill to your insurance agency or whoever is responsible for that particular visit. That's fee for service. It's now changing to value-based care. What does value-based care mean? Value-based care means they get incented or paid for keeping you well, not when you're
Wow.
sick, right? That's a total different model. It's a total different incentive model, right? So if they're incented to keep you well, that means they need to have more monitoring capabilities of who you are. So what you're
Right.
starting to see is a plethora of new technology that's coming out because what they've realize, remember, the consumerization of health is really the biggest driving factor now in healthcare. That means people are demanding a different healthcare experience. I
Yeah.
want to be taken care of in my home as opposed to being in the hospital system. Here's an interesting fact that most people don't know, that the fourth or fifth uh, biggest killer, I mean, what people die from, deaths are, what are they caused by, right? Well, people would say, yes, cancer is up there. Yes, cardiac arrest or heart failure is up there. Diabetes is up there. Well, guess what else is up there? The fourth leading cause of death is the hospital itself. What does that
Really?
mean? Yeah, because of sepsis. You're
I
going
was
into
just
an
going to say that. Is
environment.
it due to infection? Wow.
Yeah, yeah, you have infection. You're not, you can go in for one thing and come out with a whole nother other thing because you're exposed. That's where all the sick people are coming to. And so even though they try to keep it as clean as possible, there is no way they can, determine that you're going to not contract some other type of ailment because of your hospital stay. This is a little known fact. A lot of hospitals don't talk about it, but it's the truth. So because of that, why not treat a patient at home if you can, depending on your situation?
Yeah.
So now that's changing the model. You're starting to see more home health. You're starting to see what they call micro hospitals. They're very small hospitals. Still these 100, 200, 400 bed hospitals. You'll start seeing 10 or 20 bed hospitals. That's what CVS is starting to look at. That is what Walmart is starting to look at because it's easier to manage. But if you're at home and you're only dealing with your own ailments and exposure to different diseases and whatnot, it becomes easy. But how can you deliver care at the level that's needed for the healthcare system? So you have to do that through technology. You're going to start seeing remote patient monitoring. You're going to start seeing wearables, mainly probably in your ear, to take vitals to know how you're functioning. You start looking at, remember, your eyes are very, very important to all that. So if you can't see or they can't tell you can't see, they got to be able to understand where you're at in your current state to get you to a future state that's going to be better for you. And that's why I love where we're going from a VR area, an AR area, meaning how can I deliver an experience? Think about it like that. So they're just delivering care. Care is a part of that. But now I'm looking at how do I deliver an experience to my consumer base, whether before they get sick or during that they're sick, and then even after that. And how can I do that holistically across my ecosystem, whether I might be a local hospital, a regional hospital, a national, and I'm just talking hospitals, but just in healthcare in general, how can I do that? Because there's 300 million, maybe 400 million Americans. Guess what? All 300, 400 million Americans touch healthcare. That's a huge,
Yeah.
huge population of, that's everybody, right? Touches the healthcare system. And we need to have a better experience that is holistic in nature, that can be delivered, not just when you're sick, But when you're well, giving you information, giving you training, giving you metrics and monitoring so that you have a better life experience overall, not something that's intrusive to you, like, oh, they're monitoring me. This is, Big Brother and all that stuff. Like, no, we're trying to help you. But that's a perception that we're going to have to overcome as a people over time, that we're not just monitoring you to monitor you. I don't think that many people are that interesting that, people want to see what you're doing minute by minute. However, there's certain things that even you brought up, which I loved your concept of having the patient electronic health record, that you have your own record that's yours, that you can then allow others to interact with as needed through a blockchain type of platform.
Was June of 2015 article, and it said that according to the best the psychology and all of the psychology groups coming together could figure out, our consciousness level is running on autopilot 95% of the time, our subconscious mind on average as a humanity. And so that's repeat patterns, repeat programs just on autopilot. Like, we just let the brain, we kind of check out and let the brain make all those executive decisions for us. And it's usually then like all of the same ones, right? And I'm going to tell you, I also am going to give you a piece of realistic information right now. And that is that there's lives being saved all over the face of this planet, like by the droves on a daily basis, massively across the whole face of this planet. There's so many lives, there's so many miracles, there's so many superheroes, there's so many things, and we're just not running around and chasing it.
Through all of those projects, through all of those things that I do or that I create or that I love to work on, even in the car, for example, the interface of the car, the thing that I like that it connects everything is the fact that I love to understand the who sits in the who is the user. What I usually like to do is to take something that is completely difficult to do today, or you have a lot of pain doing that task, and then turn it into something that actually people enjoy making.
I get out. I'm a director of the hospital. I get out and fix stuff. I go out and replace computers. I go out and, take care of different things on the floor, because that's what we do. We help each other. And, the faster that I can get that equipment turned back around into those nurses, the easier it is for them to see their patients. you're gonna give me something that I have to go back to my nursing units and say you have to take 2 extra clicks to do something. You don't think 2 extra clicks is a lot, but you take it over a 12-hour shift, that's an extra 30, 40 minutes in their shift, and they're already tired enough. So if you're gonna tell me to do that, you need to give me what they're gonna benefit from that. You need to tell me, okay, this is gonna save a patient's life more. It's going to give you more access to patient data. This is going to make it easier for the patient to understand what you're trying to show them. It's going to make it easier for you when you give your shift report to give somebody, the next person coming in, something that I can give them that's going to show them those 2 extra clicks you're doing are giving you this benefit.
I want to thank you. And normally in an interview style format, I would dig into something, but like you gave me like 100 nuggets. So we're going to have to definitely have you back on a rewind, but let's go back to one point that you made, which was we're shifting to a value-based system. What's prompting that? Is that managed care? Is that provider networks? Is that doctors just saying, forget it, we're going to change the script? Like, what is the impetus behind this shift from a fee-based system to a value-based system?
Well, it's all about money. We cannot afford as a country the way we're doing it. Right now, the GDP of the American budget every year, I think healthcare is around 20%. It's a lot of money. We're talking trillions of dollars. And we have a population base talking about 50 and above. That is the highest it's ever been in history. So that means you're going to have a lot of older people. And just like anything else in life, the older it is, the more maintenance it's going to require. We cannot afford the way we're doing it, because if you go to the hospital now, you'll get some ungodly bill. You might even have insurance, but it doesn't cover nearly everything that's necessary. You can go bankrupt just by having a health emergency. This is a problem. You got to remember, this is multiplied through, half. I don't say half. I don't know what that percentage is of the elderly population, but it's growing at a rate that is not sustainable under a fee-for-service model. So we've got to go to more value-based care model.
Sustainable is a great word, but I'll tell you something that happened to me recently. Now, my husband is one of those people that reads the fine print in every policy that we have. And, we just get our health care renewed. He's been at the same job for 10 years. It's never really changed. But we started getting these huge bills. And at first we thought it was an accident. Like sometimes they forget to put the bill through. So you get like a couple $1,000 bill. You think, oh, they probably didn't bill the insurance. And finally there were enough of them. We're like, what the hell is going on here? Because you have a kid that needs to go to the ER because it's on a Saturday and you're afraid of them, blowing off a fever. You don't want to do that anymore. We learned through COVID, you don't blow off fevers. If nothing's open, you go to the ER. That's where you have to go. Well, lo and behold, our insurance company, which is the best insurance provided through Honda, which is a national global company, is a 30% copay now on all hospital bills. Yeah. And if you're not looking at your policy, you're going to get blindsided with a 5-digit balance. And how can I'm a family of 5, how can you sustain that? So I think when you talk about sustainability, I think COVID put a lot of pressure on insurance companies and on hospitals, because we're seeing prices skyrocket to unfathomable heights. And we've been very privileged to have these kind of pay $10 copay healthcare systems for so long that we never really understood what the stuff cost, because the bill was going to the hospital and hospital paid it and everything was okay. But I mean, if this continues to happen, households that are already under financial pressure are going to really struggle. So I think you're bringing up some great points here, but how does a doctor adopt that model?
Well, it's got to be legislated. That's the whole thing, because there's some fee for or value-based care taking place now, and that what happens is that the provider and the payer are actually in concert or collaboration with each other. You see
Okay.
that with organizations like Kaiser Permanente, because they are the payer and the provider. They're incented to have more value-based care because it's going to end up costing them less. If I come to you, Charlene, and I can understand by now this is how you start getting into technology, precision medicine. If I already know, because I have the data, that you're in the New York City area, you're in a particular zip code, and because based on this information, we've had a propensity of these types of ailments in this area, then I can then as a doctor say, you know what, I need to check Charlene for high blood pressure. I need to check her for, glucose. I need to check her for this and this and this, because if she starts to show these signs, I can begin to treat her now instead of waiting to an episodic event that's going to be astronomical in cost. So it costs me a lot less to get to you, as a lot of people know, and if you've been diagnosed or people that know they have cancer, a lot easier to deal with somebody in stage 1 than someone who's in stage 4. You see, so in a fee for service based model, I'm incented for you to be really in stage 4 because I'm going to get paid more. But in the value based system, I'm incented to treat you in stage 1, to keep you out of the hospital, to keep you in wellness, right, and give you the treatments that are necessary for you, and because that's where we have to go, because we cannot sustain having a nation of sick people. You've got obesity problems right now. You've got too much sugar that's being consumed by people.
Not enough sunlight.
Too much salt.
In the eye care industry.
Of course, it's going to affect your eye care. All these things are connected together because that's lifestyle. But if you don't teach people, you don't train people, you don't give them the information, and then again, if you're not incented, if the healthcare systems are not incented to be more around health and wellness and then not healthcare, you're always going to have what you call acute care. Acute care is what you described, emergency. I got to go to the emergency round. I got to go to the hospital now. That's probably not going to change as much. But remember, we're talking about accidents and things like that, or something unfortunate. But disease states take usually time to get to a point where the first are diagnosed and then they can be treated, right? So if we can reduce that, that's going to be great.
There is a middle ground there, and I'm working with a doctor right now. We have our first medical practice, not an eye doctor, actually a primary care physician coming into the Omniverse city, and the biggest thing that she wants to do is be able to have more time to speak to her patients, not treat them, to speak to them. And I will tell you right now, because again, I have children that are hypochondriacs. At least 3 of those visits could have been avoided if I could have gotten them on the phone with somebody that could have listened to what was going on and made an educated decision about whether or not they should wait it out or go. But unfortunately, the days of I remember when my kids were really little, you can call the pediatrician anytime during the weekend and you can get someone 24/7 on demand. But that type of 24/7 care just is not available through any primary care physician that I've worked with. So this idea of this concierge medical model sounds like it might be the first step towards this value-based care. And I'm curious, is that kind of what you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Anything like that people, the consumerization of healthcare, what you just described, which is concierge service, depending on where you're at, what you're paying for, you brought up another great point. You need to look at your policy. You need to understand what happens if you truly need it. What you really will find that most policies now are what you call high deductible. That means you're paying a ton of money out of pocket before the healthcare actually kicks in.
Like $10,000.
So it could be thousands of dollars. Like, well, shit, why do I have this? So it's there for catastrophic, care, not maintenance. Maintenance is something different. So this model is already in place. You're going to start seeing, instead of going to your local pediatrician or something like that, you can go online and you can have a consult real time. You can share information. The technology is so good now that they can do what you would call triage services to know pretty much where you're at, even for the common cold, fever, that kind of thing. Like, give me the information, see where you're at. Then they can determine, hey, yeah, you need to go to urgent care. Oh, yeah, you need to go to emergency. You need to, and then so that's going to save you a lot of money. You say, no, you could go over the counter, OTC as they call it, because that's all you need. Boom. And possibly you're getting that service from your local CVS. It could be, again, your Walmart. This is changing the competitive landscape of the healthcare ecosystem, where before the emergency care is getting inundated with all these different things. And guess what? The highest form of care in the healthcare system is the emergency room. You don't go there unless you have to.
Yeah, it's just
but it's
not,
very
I mean, but
expensive.
for so many people, it's just the only option. People are afraid to go to clinics like they used to because you're crammed in a waiting room with people. You don't know what the hell they have for, hours. But in these last few minutes that we have, and again, I want to remind the audience that this is a great time to get your questions answered. Grant is really an expert on these topics, and a lot of people in the industry are just now exploring these alternative modes of medicine and integrated medicine, which we didn't get to talk about, which we have to come back.
think that, as Grant said, I think entrepreneurship is definitely the most important aspect, because if we're creating things and we're not creating things that we can benefit off of, or that our children can benefit off of, or that our communities can benefit off of, then, you know, what is the point of existence, right? If we can't manifest things that are ultimately going to make our lives better as well as those around us. And entrepreneurship at its core is ownership. And without ownership, without owning and being able to turn your creations into assets, then, you know, we're really just behind the ball. And so, you know, it's my hope that that I can inspire young people, as well as those that may be mid-career and those that may be at the end of their career, to actually think about the field of technology and to think about the opportunities that exist, the low barriers to entry. All you need is a laptop and an internet connection to get in the game. And so hopefully, you know, my experience can be encouraging to others, that you don't have to have, you know, all these credentials, etc., to really produce and to surpass those that may actually have credentials as well.
Follow the Brand TV broadcast host, Grant McGaugh, as he visits with top executives and entrepreneurs to find out their secrets of success with their personal brand. Follow the Brand TV broadcast host as he focuses on brand development to build better relationships, bring value to your business, relationships, and career. You will enjoy listening to each episode that is tailored to speak to you directly. If you're looking for this type of clarity in terms of building your brand, you have tuned into the right station. Each episode will help you to shape a conversation in the 5-star BDM network of 20,000 professionals and become a springboard for your corporate engagement and business opportunities. Each guest will frame their story in the areas of personal branding, business development, career development, financial empowerment, and technology innovation. Grant McGaugh explains why he is the CEO and owner of his own professional career. Grant is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur who wants to give back to individuals to grow their personal brand strategy. Tune in as he weaves his story about new possibilities, while to you exceed expectations. If you love storytelling, this show will make for fun.
5-Star BDM, Brand Development Masters, is a professional consulting and advisory group keenly focused on business development services for the small to mid-sized business and entrepreneurs. Although every business is unique, they often share business development challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. Services include process improvement and operations, digital strategy and transformation, business intelligence, digital marketing, and personal branding. Our business and personal branding company has helped a number of professionals and organizations to optimize and grow. This results in more business, more opportunities, better reach, positive outcomes. Visit www.5starbdm.com today to learn more.
And discuss, but process is probably the number one thing I could think of that providers are going to have to embrace, because you cannot transform your medical model for any reason if you don't understand what your existing patient experience is like, and you can visualize how that change in process is going to improve. Talk a little bit about process and how you've seen that play a role in some of the patient transformation journeys that you've witnessed.
This is what the healthcare industry is about to embark on. Kicking and screaming, but true. They're about to be disrupted. It's the same thing that happened in the telecom world, where AT&T ran everything. They were a monopoly. They did not have to advertise. They did not have to do any kind of marketing. You had to use it because there was no other choice. Just like in your, most likely your utility, your electric company. They don't have to, you got to pay it anyway. That's how the healthcare industry has been. Now you have options. Now you have choices. You need to educate yourself on these options and choices that are in the best interest of yourself. You need to understand the insurances that you have and know what it actually pays and what it does not pay. And then understand what other options are there for you. I love how you mentioned concierge services. There's all kinds of different other services out there that are stacked with very highly educated physicians from all over the world. You're not dependent on just your local pediatrician or whatever it may be for information. Information is easy to get now, but you have to utilize it. You have to go out there and get it. So this whole industry is being, and I would say you might be quicker than you would think, being turned on its head. You think about what happened in the hotel industry with Airbnb. Think about the taxi world with Uber. You say, oh, yeah, but that was like, this is happening. And then that's not something that new. We've known about this for years that, hey, you know, you got a CVS in every corner. You got a Walmart everywhere as far as a physical location to go to. But now you've got internet everywhere. You've got rooms like this. You can have just about real-time communication, what collapses the window of time to get real good information and get value for your dollar. That's the consumerization of health.
And if you want to see some of these models on display so you can see how other doctors are visualizing transforming patient care and taking a real attempt at doing this, when you go into the Omniverse City, into our new lobby, which is so damn cool, you'll see like an escalator going up to the second floor. Can't believe this. Okay. And on that second floor, you'll see like shops and you'll see, shows. In the shows section is a Zen room, which is designed to show an experience where you can give patients where they can just detox and unwind and just lower their blood pressure. This is a great way to provide proactive care to any patient by teaching them how to lower their stress levels. Stress is, you talked about hospitals being one of the top killers. I bet you stress is in there as like one of the ways that people really, I mean, most of the diseases that we have are spawned by stress. So providing virtual ways for people to detox and stress is so incredible, because not everybody can go on vacation. I feel like I'm on a vacation. This has been so much fun this weekend. I haven't left my home, but yet I feel like I've been around the world. And then there's also the shop section where you could see Altogether Lovely. Dr. LeGrand, she's just a doctor in Lake Nona, Orlando, and she decided after 40 years of being disrupted by the healthcare system and being forced into modes of care that she doesn't prefer, just because being a general doctor just wasn't profitable enough for her. And she was on the board originally before managed care took over. She's just excited to take the patient-provider relationship into her own hands and reimagine her practice by developing a metaverse practice. And she does have a physical practice, but she really, again, very intelligent woman and doctor, and she sees the opportunity to go virtual. So there's a lot of doctors thinking, like, do I have to follow this rule book that's been given to me, or can I reinvent the wheel? The answer is yes, you can, but you have to understand the rules of your industry and your community, and like really do your research. And that's why, champions like Grant, some of the people that we have on board, we have, obviously Wiggins, which is our legal partner that we work with. You really just want to start educating yourself on how to get the tools that you need so you can responsibly reimagine the patient provider experience. I'll give you the last word, Grant.
Oh, no, that was great. First, I love what you're doing. You're doing a great service for the community. I have not seen anything like this when it comes to eye care ever. I've learned so much just by listening to all the different speakers, having all the different types of vendors that are here to give information. I've been wearing glasses pretty much my entire life, and my eyes are been terrible. And so when I have an opportunity to interact with all the different people, I'm like, yes, finally, I could get information about my eye and my eyewear in one spot. This is awesome.
That was my biggest, when I first shifted from my vision show to the optical metaverse and then to the Omniverse city, the closer I got to the general public, I was afraid of like highlighting optical and optometry, because I didn't know if a lot of people would relate to that, because it was an industry that I knew and understood, but I didn't know if a lot of people would I knew they would immediately get it. I felt like my job was to show them the stories behind the brands. And I was really expecting that to be a production. I was expecting to really say, oh, look at this great product and these great people, but I have not had to do that. And this is going over 6 months now. It's just growing. People are fascinated that they finally, like, I always wondered about that, or I always wondered what those lenses were made out of, or why is this and why is that, and like all these answers that people are getting now. And I mean, you're an expert, you're a professional who has access to a lot of resources a lot of people don't have, and the fact that you're still inquisitive shows that the public has been starving for this information for a very long time. And, the optical metaverse is a platform where you can provide that access. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
No, I mean it wholeheartedly. Like I said, I would spend what I see in my optician maybe every couple of years. I might go and just get a pair of some eye frames. I might spend an hour or so. You're talking 3 hours, over a few years, and you're wearing your eyes for your entire lifetime. You don't realize how important your eyesight truly is, and that you do need to take special care, and the maintenance and information, like you said, having it readily available is very important.
You're so right. And I'm going to leave off with this, because you said that the shift from the fee-based system to the value-based system is to shift the mindset of doctors from, okay, let me charge for all these services, to let me charge a more consistent rate, more on a subscription-based plan that gives my patient more access to me, but, maybe in a more asynchronous way. So I don't have to be in my office to see people, because that's obviously a very expensive venture. So I can offload some of that connectivity connectivity through messaging in whatever fashion. So now I could see more people and I can afford to charge a little bit less for that time, and then see the people that only really need to see me physically. Like those are all metrics, but there's also an onus on the patient to say, wait a second, is it really better for me to go to the doctor or go to the emergency room when something's wrong? Or is it better for me to say, hey, how do you help me get a finger on the pulse? Literally get a finger on the pulse of my personal care. How do I become involved? How do I take account? How do I, as a human being, become accountable to my healthcare? And this, thankfully, this younger generation, they don't need to be convinced. They are very, very, very on the ball when it comes to their wellness and it comes to sustainability. Like, and we can learn a lot from this younger generation because, you know, we need to do that too. Like we need to make better choices. We need to make sure that although we have busy lifestyles, that we're still eating right and being healthy and considering the professionals we have around us, letting them guide us to make sure we're making the right decisions to be healthy.
Well, here's a fun fact that here we are in the United States, the richest country on earth. Yet we have, I think we rank like 35th or 36th in healthcare delivery. We're terrible.
Wow.
We're talking about this value-based care like it's a new model, but it's not. It's been practiced in modern industrial countries for years because it takes the burden off for the government. You know, say, hey, if we can keep the population health, then we don't have to pay for these expensive procedures. Where we've just not been, we haven't taken that leap forward to do that. But I think now because of the conditions, we have to. But if you look at like there's companies like ChinMed is a very good example. If you want to look at an example of who's doing that, is that they work with big word decapitated funding, meaning they get paid by the government to keep the older population out of the hospital. This is Medicare and Medicaid patients. And so they use a concierge style of medicine, specifically, as I just stated. You know, they go out, they check on them. You don't have to call the doctor. The doctor's calling you. Hey, how are you doing? How are you eating? All of these things that keep you well. Not to say that you won't have a stay in the hospital, but you could. But everything has been done prior to. And then once you come out of the hospital, they want to make sure you don't readmit. Readmittance is how hospitals themselves get dinged. So if you go to the hospital, they don't want you to come back because if you come, not meaning coming back for the exact same thing. If you come back for the exact same thing, they don't get the amount of reimbursement from the insurance company as they normally would. So there's incentives out there. You have to understand the incentives and the reason why. But I would push back what you said earlier. It is our responsibility as human beings to be responsible for our health care. You can't just have someone just push it to you. You have options now. And because you have options, you need to look at it, do your due diligence to see what is the best option for you and your family with the availability that you have so you can get the best possible care.
Well, we will definitely bring you back on to dig into some of this, but I want to leave you we have a couple minutes before the next session. And we talked about a D word, disruption, but there's another D word I want to talk about. And it's something that we're doing here today. The Optical Metaverse is all about decentralization. And there isn't a better way to decentralize an industry than to bring the players together that are interested in having a better way, shifting, maybe from this fee-based system to this value-based system as an industry, as opposed to as a provider. Wouldn't it be so much easier for those providers to do that, to provide those services, if as an industry, we understand the total goal and we subscribe to that goal together? The whole reason the Optical Metaverse is here and the reason you're all here right now, and I could see all of you all have just so many people. I see Vito, who's like a champion in sports medicine. I see Bruce Carnahan, who's I feel like the romper, remember that? I see Billy, I see Susie, I see Eric Mate, I see Lynn Lawrence, I see Justo, I just met you today. Jennifer Gill, Nagas, Carla. These are all champions in different sectors that can come together. Arena, Princess. I mean, everybody, Robin, everybody has a role to play in this. And, what if we could just play our own role and we didn't have to learn to be doctors and social media experts too, or, lens providers and, frame manufacturers too. Like, what if we could just say, hey, this is the challenge that we have from the perspective of a lens manufacturer. And the frame company could say, this is the, problem we have from the perspective of a frame designer. And wow, okay, how do we solve these problems together? Like, that's really why this platform was built. What are your thoughts about decentralization? I'll give you the last word on that.
Oh, well, it's all about the data. Are you getting right now? What's happening is that you have some of the data and they take some of the data, and that's how you get services and different products created, because you don't have it all. You've got a whole. The other problem we have is called the digital divide. There's large portions of our population that do not participate in the known internet. They don't participate in what you would call the collection of data to qualify different projects that are out there to create. Say, hey, I'm going to create the greatest and latest iPhone. Where is that data coming from a user experience, right? So it only comes from a subset. So when you start getting to decentralization, and what the hope is that you opens up a bigger population of people that are participating, and you start to get different perspectives on different things, and then you start to get better ideas. And then what I call this is the renaissance and the promise of this new technological leap that we're going toward, that we're going to like, wow, I just did not know that was even possible. You could do it this way, you could do it that way, because you're starting getting more data, you're starting getting more input, and that's what we need.
I could not agree more. And again, we will be hosting rewinds after this event is over. This is only Friday, the first half of the day. We still have 2 more days left. This has been a long day, but it's been a very exciting day. And Grant, thank you so much for being a part of this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon. And up next is
Tune in for our next show or click on our website at www.5starbdm/followthebrandtv. Thank you. Hey everyone, it's Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM and host of the award-winning Follow the Brand podcast and TV series, where I help you to build a 5-star brand that people will follow. My genius is personal brand development through intelligent communication and helping you achieve your business and career goals. I am a requested speaker on digital technology and brand development issues. I want to work with you to increase the value of your current opportunities while attracting new ones. Every one of you is unique, and we all share challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. As a super connector, I work with you as an executive coach to guide you along the complicated business and career development road, providing the enhancement tools and information you need to succeed. Together, I will help you succeed in today's challenging business climate. I will evaluate and measure your progress. Best of all, I am right alongside you every step of the way. Build the brand called you. Genius.